Shut up and sit down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Third Shift's episode 283, and I, of course, am your host, your funky leader, the greatest man who's ever lived, the king of games! That's me, and you'll hear more about why that is later in the episode, but with me, as almost always, I shouldn't say that because now I will have screwed up the next show just like we did the last show, but we're not talking about the last show because he's here with me. He's the light bearer, the light bringer, the light bearer, bringer, the Beastmaster of Third Shift. It's Eric, and he's going to tell us exactly how his week went. Eric, spare no details, spare no expense. Tell us what you've been doing this past week.
Well, I'll tell you this, Matt. I've reconfigured our entire podcast. All right? We are now Third Shift, the anime podcast.
No,
Woo!
we're not doing. No,
Clap,
I mean, a game,
clap,
but we're
clap.
not doing that. No.
Everybody clap. Everybody clap. I know it's a surprise. I know it's a shock. I know we just had a special Patreon episode where we were talking about some things we'd like to do this year with the show, and I didn't say any of the things like I just told you. But you know what? So, to start things off, Matt, let's just talk about a few of the shows I've watched, okay? Because I want to go into detail about them, all right? We'll start with the Tokyo 24th Ward. Man, I went into this one not thinking much of it. Oh, what? You got it.
Hey, the 25th, 24th, 25th Ward, is this the near future where it's like a weird big building and everybody's living in it? Because that's the visual novel game that I played not too long ago.
No, it is not that one. No, it's not. But
Are you sure?
it is.
Are you
I'm
real
not
sure?
actually. I'm not 100% sure.
I think
I'm like 50% sure because the shows, and this is what I was going to get to jokingly, was that it's really very short-sighted so far in its narrative and where it's going. It hasn't really explained much of anything, but in the gist of it, it's these people. There's some kids going through the school system. They actually have like powers. They're better able to handle situations than other kids, and they live in these the wards in these areas, and then each of them builds up like a hero team almost. And I don't really know much else beyond that except for the characterizations of the coming together of these heroes and some of the traumatizations they've had thus far. So maybe it is, maybe they're going to build on that and everyone's stuck in this large little single cell ecosystem, but right now they are stuck in their ward, their area. That's their environment to protect, to live in, to preserve, etc. So maybe it'll get more into that.
See, we'll have to talk about this as you get into future episodes because it might cross into this thing. Because the visual novel that I played, there was very specific things that happened like in each ward. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this is crossover with that or not.
Okay,
we'll talk about it in a future episode.
In a future episode of the brand new Third Shift anime podcast, we'll talk about it. All right. Well, let's see. 86. I went in a nutcase with this show. 86, man. Holy cow, what a great show. It's about this group of individuals, the 86, it's this team. They're tasked with fighting off these evil robots or whatever from the different empire. But the thing is, everybody inside of their current ecosystem thinks that these are unmanned robots and that everybody's so peaceful and we only fight with robots now. But actually, it's real human beings inside those robots, but nobody cares. So they're all just like trash or worms and pigs, and it's awesome.
So it's literally Ender's Game.
That same kind of thing going. But so cool because it's like a Game of Thrones scenario. No one's safe. No one survives. Everyone dies. So it's kind of crappy in that way that you just you can't ever get really attached to anybody because none of these poor souls make it out alive. Spoiler alert. Except that I'm lying because I'm not going to actually really spoil it. Things do happen. There's some stuff that goes down. But it is very dark, and but it's cool because the way they tell you about the characters, they were friends and they are able to work together and they are able to have these moments, but they also know that they're gonna die. So when it happens, they're not all like, oh, bah, ho, ho. They're just shocked. They're just beyond able to actually just feel anything for it. They just keep moving on. And just pent up whatever anger and frustration they have. And it comes out sometimes. It's really good. Good show, man. I'd recommend you check it out. I don't know. I think they're going to... Well, I hope they're going to have another season because where they left it off at, it's definitely, not the end. But who knows? I've learned through becoming an anime nerd that sometimes you just don't get closure. You just don't get it. You'll never get it.
True.
These shows get canceled constantly.
But sometimes it's for the best, though, because sometimes the show goes on and then it just goes. Well, even with American shows, it just goes on and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. Whereas sometimes if you just cut it, and then you can either, if it's based on a manga, go read the manga ending, or you can just, what I like to do, here's what I think it would do. That's the ending that I've chosen.
That's what I'm going to give it and walk away from.
Yeah. They would probably go do this. I don't care what the official word is. It's fine. Mm-hmm. I know. You don't have to give me the Poochie died on his way to his home planet screen at the end. I get it. I know what's going to happen.
Exactly. So, of course, with that being watched, The Strongest Sage with the Weakest Crest, been watching that. I'm still mixed on it. Pretty good. I don't know. Platinum End, really good show so far. God's decided to retire. He's going to pick a new god, so he takes his angels to go pick somebody out in Japan. More specifically, I think it's Tokyo, Japan, that you think will be a good god, but it has to be somebody who's like going to kill themselves, because only someone who's willing to actually go through and kill themselves has the fortitude to change something, and that's the whole premise of this. That's a really good show. Watching that one. We've got Demon Slayer, obviously. Every sucker's watching that show. I mean, it's amazing, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't consider you an actually anime, snuff if you're watching that. A lot of casuals watch that one. We got My Dress Up Darling. Man, wow, what a great show. I'm telling you this.
All right, this show's going off the rails. I'm winding it in.
Listen,
no, I don't care. No,
gamers,
shut up, Eric.
into the ladle
Shut
of the
up. We're done.
My team.
We're done. Get out of here. Here's what I did this week. Oh, my goodness. Check out all the cool things that I did.
I got so much anime we can talk about, man. I've watched, I think I got about 37 shows I could tell you about. That's all I've done. I don't even. What are games, man? You said something about playing a video game? I don't do that. I just watch anime. Listen, man, don't judge me because this is all I do anymore. All right, don't try to derail this, throw me off the show just because I watch anime and don't play video games anymore. Yes, I've devolved. I've devolved into an anime beast. That's all I can. What can I tell you? I don't know. I look at a game anymore and I go, I don't want to play it. I just don't want to. I don't feel like it. These controllers, man, they're all heavy. They're cumbersome. I could just watch anime and drift away. It's better. You
got to fix yourself, Eric. You got to fix yourself.
That's my week, man. That's what I did this week. And I still don't feel motivation to play video games next week either. So I don't know. We'll see.
See, I was going to say, you've had 2 weeks of this. You're cut off. January is over. There's no more excuses. It's time to get back and play video games like I've been doing. I've been playing games like a fiend, and the best thing about being the king of games is you beat games like a crazy fool. I took some days off of work because I knew it was going to be Snowmageddon out here. By the way, it's Snowmageddon out here. We got like a foot of snow. Everyone is going nuts. Everybody's going crazy. I've been going nuts with my controllers, sitting on my couch, playing Scarlet Nexus and beating that game and going, this was great, but I wish I had played it all in one sitting because I started up halfway through the game and I went, I feel like I remember what's going on. And after like 2 sessions, I was like, okay, I kind of do. And then it got to the end and I went, why is this big main end villain, like the last person you fight, why has he not been like harassing us in every, what are they called, sessions or chapters or whatever? Mm-hmm. Why has he not been hassling us in every single one of those? Yuito's story especially. Maybe it was different in Kasane's because I know she went and did different stuff. I heard about it later. Most of his story is, I don't know what's going on. Let's go over there. What's going on? Oh, we fought. I still don't know anything. And then the story wrapped up and I went, okay, well, I mean, I get it. But like, how is this all connected? Like, I know it was kind of all connected, but okay, we did it. We did the thing at the end.
You saved the day.
Saved the day. And I saw the credits and it was great. Another game I played, it was literally after I beat that. I went, what am I going to do now? I don't know. I turned off the Xbox for a little bit. On the PS5, I played a little bit of another game I'll talk about in a little bit. Then I came back to the Xbox. I played Death's Door, and I went, I'll go see what the next boss is. And I got to the next boss, and I went, I'll see what the next area is like. I went through the next area. Then I fought the next boss, and then I fought the final boss. And I went, oh, it's done. This is great. The one cool thing is, it basically is a Zelda game. So, you unlock this and that and the other thing, which allows you to go into certain areas of the next area. But you remember going through all the areas beforehand. Oh, this is where I could have used the hook shot. So I could totally go back and do all the secrets and do all the things, but I'm probably not going to do that. It was a great game, don't get me wrong, but I feel like now that it's done, it's kind of done. I don't need health upgrades because I'm not going to fight a boss again because the game's over. But a fantastic game. I wish I had just stuck with it when I started playing it because it was so good. It might have been on my Game of the Year list last year as we did them, but still a fantastic game. And it's on Game Pass. Everybody just go play it for free and have a good time. Just like Scarlet Nexus is. Go play that and have a good time. Another game that was on Game Pass that I put a little bit more time into this week was Dandy Ace, the Hades-like, dungeon crawling roguelike. Played a few more runs to that. I put a decent amount of time into it. It's not a game that I'm going to play through and complete and beat. I kind of decided, well, I'm putting more runs into it, but I'm not having more and more fun. Like I'm kind of doing the same strategies over and over because they work really well up until I get to a boss that kind of smashes me. And I went, okay, well, it's fun, but I'm not going to put so much more time into it that I'm going to just keep doing it for a long time like I did with Hades, because in Hades, you go back to the castle and you talk to all your friends and you unlock friend things and you give them gifts and you progress your relationship with them. Versus in Dandy Ace, you go and you die and you start the dungeon over again. And you can still unlock stuff that helps you in your next runs, but there's not that story element there. There's not characters that I really want to go talk to. There's literally 3 characters so far, and one sells you stuff, and the other is the boss who created this whole thing. So he's got nothing else to say. So, fun game, but just I'm putting it off to the side for now. When I put it off to the side, I started up One Step from Eden, which is the card-based deck-building roguelite that's on a grid, like Mega Man Battle Network, if anybody remembers me talking about that. And I played a few runs of that, and I went, this is great, but it is so fast-paced and stressful. Like when you watch it in action, stuff is flying everywhere, and things are going, and it's just freaking nuts. And I went, this is a lot of fun. But I can't do it. Plus, the way that the actions work, like you have a deck of cards, and when you start the battle, 2 come out, and you have to use them to get more, or like reshuffle the deck, which takes a few seconds. But to look at what your character is doing, what space you're on, what the enemies are doing, what space they're on, what 2 cards came up, and then where your cursor is pointed on the enemy space to use which card, and then remember the symbols on the cards because they don't actually just tell you what they do, all in a real time, super fast, you gotta do it type of thing. It's a little bit too much. It's fun, it looks great, it sounds great, it plays great, but I got no time for all that stressing. I'm just like you. I look at that and I go, I'd rather just watch a YouTube show. I can't do it. So, played a few runs of that. I had a feeling this was going to be the case, but I put some time in. It was free on Game Pass. And I went, okay, that's not going to be my Game Pass game for February. Once I decided to do that, a few weeks ago, I went through my Switch backlog, my little crossbar thing. Way at the bottom was Transistor, which I had started like the day after I beat Bastion, like 3 years ago, when I first played Bastion and beat that. And I went, this is great. And I started up Transistor and made it like a quarter of the way through. And I went, I got too much isometric fun times with Supergiant games. I can't do it again. And I went, I'm going to do this again. I started up new today, and I beat it today. Fantastic game. The abilities and the stuff you get, and then the way you can augment those abilities, it's the pulling the strings type of stuff that I love so much. And it's a beautiful world, a really well-told story. I loved the ending, but just the way that you could kit out your character in so many different ways and do so many different things. I ended up totally cheesing stuff with an invisibility and then locking up charm and like bounce effects on my other stuff. Oh, it was wonderful. I loved playing through that. I'm sad that it's over. And then the last game that I'll talk about. Oh, because there's another thing outside of gaming to talk about. Okay, I'm going to try and wrap it up. Last game to talk about, Deep Rock Galactic. I play that on Friday nights when my buddy Eric's not around, and I have a great time. I be a dwarf, I dig, and I mine ore, and I shoot bugs, and I have a great time, and I accomplish missions. They've got a Lunar New Year event going on right now, so you can unlock a Lunar New Year hat and all kinds of stuff, and if you go to the bar, it's all decked out with hanging lanterns and stuff. Oh, it's a wonderful time, and I kid you not, Eric. It was a beautiful moment. I was browsing on Instagram today, and we all know how all your internet traffic, it's all tracked across every single site you visit. Even when you say, don't track my stuff, they totally do. I've looked up Deep Rock Galactic twice. once to find out how to promote a character, or a class, I mean, and once for, I don't know, something else, maybe where to get items for the brewery. Going through Instagram today, scroll. What's this an ad for? Deep Rock Galactic, the board game, coming soon to Kickstarter. I appreciate that you tracked my traffic and you know that I like Deep Rock Galactic, because this is cool, and I put notify me on launch so I can know all about it. And then, to wrap it up for the week, this was like the first thing I did last weekend, too, so it's taken me all the way back full circle. I went and saw Frozen at the Wharton Center, the Broadway musical version. What a great show. I have never seen the Disney movie. Obviously, we all know about it because of cultural references and this and that. What a great show. It was kind of silly. Obviously, it's a Disney kids movie, so I guess I should have expected some silliness. But the production was really good. Like, the reindeer thing, it was really awesome out there on stage. Obviously, the big musical number where she transforms and she's like, screw it, I'm in an ice castle now. Fantastic. The transformation they did was great. The lead singer lady, I'm blanking on her name right now, she was awesome in that. So just a great show. If it's coming to your town, go check it out and have a great time. And I think that's it for me, the king of games and the king of musical theater this week. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm still pretty bitter that I let you talk about all 42 games you beat, but you just cut me off and didn't let me finish my teen romantic comedy snafu. I play.
It's a video game podcast, Eric. It's a video game podcast.
This is the one we did this week, though.
Go ahead, man. Just listen. We'll circle back to you, Eric. We got time. We got time.
We got nothing but time. All the time in the world. No, we will circle back to me, but we're going to do it in a different way because, of course, as y'all know, hey, there's some games coming out this week. You might want to pay attention to at least one of them. I don't know about what Matt's talking about. I guess we'll see.
You are going to want to pay attention to that. You especially will. You know you will.
I probably will. I will. I think I've already heard a little bit about what you're going to talk about. But Dying Light 2 Stay Human is out as of Friday, as of tomorrow, as of 2/4, as of now. When you're listening, maybe not. Who knows? All I can tell you is you can go get it. And I, proxy, because of my brother, have it and will play it. So, yay, for me, I get to play Dying Light 2.
Except that's a lie. You're going to go watch a zombie anime instead. And then watch a schoolgirl anime.
God, that's probably it's probably very true, Matt. It's probably very true. But I don't want to lead the people down a terrible, sad road. I want them to believe that I'm going to come back someday and play video games again. So I gotta say, I'll be playing some Dying Light 2 Stay Human. And of course, if you don't know anything about it, it's made, developed, and published by Techland. The original came out many years ago. It was kind of one of those little sleeper hits. People didn't really expect too much. It came out, and all of a sudden, everyone was like, wow, Dying Light's really good. Oh. And if you don't know what it's about, it's a first-person parkour zombie apocalypse game. All right? And I'm not going to talk about the first one, but in this one, you're Aiden. It's 15 years after the original Dying Light. You've been infected. You want to stay alive. You are this parkour cool cat doing your thing. You come across this huge town or facility with people still living in it. And you're like, hey, I need to do what I got to do to keep myself from, turning into a zombie like all the other zombies out there. All right. So you start taking missions, you start going through this main story. There's two big different factions. You got the Peacekeepers, and then you got the Survivors. And as you go through doing side quests and main quests, you'll have to make these decisions whether to help the Peacekeepers or the Survivors out. Helping the Survivors get you more parkour routes, more parkour things throughout the environment. Helping the Peacekeepers get you more traps, defensive facilities, things like that throughout the environments. So these choices you make will be a big deal, will affect how you play and how you go about traversing the city and the areas around said city or whatever you want to call it, settlement. And then, of course, beyond that, the people you meet based off the decisions you make, well, that depends on what happens to them, how they think of you, how they treat you. Some scenarios will go about where you won't even meet certain other characters because you made certain choices earlier on. So the choices you make do matter. You do have to pay attention to what you're doing and make decisions based off how you like playing or how you want to be looked at, viewed at, treated in the game. I think that's really cool. I always love those kind of decision-making things going on. But I will say I don't like how, according to the game, because mind you, I got to start playing tomorrow, not today. From what I hear, it can shut off whole segments and parts of the game. And I don't like that because I'm not a person with a ton of time. So realistically, if I even play this, which I will at least play it once, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it twice or 3 times and go see what like other areas or characters had to offer.
Speaking of time, Eric, you got to talk about it. You got to talk about that notorious tweet that the devs put out saying there's 500 hours of content in this game.
No,
Eric,
so
you will never finish this game.
Stupid.
You're not the king of games. There's no way you're going to do it.
They already backtracked, man. They put out that whole shtick. Oh, it's going to take 500 hours. And everyone went, you're so stupid. This is stupid. I don't got time. Blah, blah. And I went, man, if you do everything, like every blade of grass, look at every blade of grass and look at every quest and do everything and replay it 72 times to meet and do every character's interaction. That's how 500 hours happens. But really, it's only going to be like 20 hours or so. And it's like, why?
I love it. I loved it, though. That's so great. If you could walk it back to less than 10% of what you put out there, don't put that out there.
Don't put it out there.
Come on now.
Stop it. Yes, they did do that, but I was just going to pass by it and let it lie because they've already been raked through the coals. The internet already ate them up and destroyed them for it.
But we didn't have a chance to eat them up, Eric. The Third Shift fans didn't have a chance to do it.
That's true. Well, now if you've missed all of that, you too can go over and say, you guys are so dumb. That was a really bad way to promote your game. Except was it really? Because every freaking website, every podcast talked about it, including yours truly now because of Matt. Thank you. Was it really bad? Because now everybody goes, Dying Light 2, that's a real game. Wow, I should at least look at it because somebody said something about him.
Also, I mean, if you tell me there's lots of content in your game, I'm going to like that more than
that's true.
Games. Hey, how long does that story take? Well, I don't know. We're really focused on multiplayer, though. Oh, so it's like
never
2
mind.
hours. Okay, okay.
And so, of course, with that all in mind, you will traverse these environments, parkour style, first-person style, running around, mostly using melee weapons. However, there are, crossbows, shotguns. In the daytime, the zombies outside are kind of handicapped, a little bit weak. It's mostly about completing your missions, completing the story, handling business. But if you really want to gain levels, you really want to get the best gear, the best things, because this is kind of Breath of the Wild style. The weapons degenerate, they break, and then you got to move on. You can, however, get components and turn them into like magic weapons, kind of, and whatnot. But mind you, you'll be using different weapons and using different items throughout the game, so don't get super attached to any one particular thing. But with that all said, you're going to want to be jumping around, flying around, using your combat abilities, getting health, getting stamina, doing the stats, like I said, crafting when you can. It looks really cool. I've always heard about Dying Light 1, and I should play it. My sister actually played it and loved it, which is really weird because she doesn't typically play those types of games. And I should have took that as a reason to play it, but I didn't. And so now here we are, me looking at this game, having it, like I said, because of my brother. And I'm like, I have to play this game. It actually does look really cool because, especially as I was going on the nighttime, they have like these really cool, like, not dungeons, but special environments, special things you can do only in the nighttime that will open up special stuff for you. And I'm like, that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like a really good challenge. Chomp your teeth in the daytime doing story missions, maybe peek out at night here and there, and then just get your skills up. Because at night, the zombies go freaking ape wild. And you'll see big, crazy zombies that typically are hiding inside buildings in the daytime that you won't usually see. That sounds exciting to me. That sounds like a lot of fun. I like that kind of challenge, and I like how they make it so you do it at your speed. You don't have to do any of those. You can just stay in the daytime, except for a couple, main story missions that take you in the night. But you don't have to go in there and be hard mode if you don't want to. But if you want that extra challenge, you want the bonus gear, it looks really cool. I can't wait to give it a shot. Maybe sometime after my next 42 anime shows that I watch or something. Maybe I'll think about games again. I don't know. But for now, I'll tell you, don't be like me. Don't be an anime god. Go be a gaming god and play this one.
I will say Dying Light 2 does look pretty cool. Like, I had no interest at all in the first one. And honestly, for different reasons, I don't really have interest in this one. But when I see footage of it being played, when I see the parkour stuff, when I hear you talk about, you can go out and do story missions in the daytime and then nighttime unlocks this whole, like, flip side of the world, essentially, where you're doing other kinds of stuff. That sounds really cool. If it just wasn't a zombie game, I would probably at least check it out or try it out or be interested. So it's a pass for me, but it sounds really cool. Like, I like the sounds of everything they're talking about, and having tons of content. And if you play it again, you could go different story routes and do different things and close off that area of the map instead of this one. Now you see what's going on over here. That sounds really cool. But a game you can't do any of that stuff in is the game I'm going to talk about. And, you know, I just realized I've been talking about free games a lot, either Game Pass games or PSN freebies. This is another free game you can download and play on your PC. What am I talking about? It's Bloodborne Psx. What are you talking about, Matt? You hate Bloodborne? You're never going to talk about Bloodborne or a Souls game again? But I love retro demakes of things. Like, this is something that doesn't happen a lot, but you know, usually it'll be like a 16-bit version of some Xbox game or something. You know, this used to happen a lot more back in the day. But here, an indie dev, Lilith Walther, has made essentially a PlayStation 1 version of the first area in Bloodborne. And if you are a Bloodborne fanatic and you watch this, like, the opening cutscene exactly mimics the framing and the shots and everything from the actual Bloodborne cutscene, except everyone is PlayStation models. It looks so, I don't know how to say this. It looks so bad.
It looks so bad. That's what it
but
looks.
But in the best way. These are the things I remember going into Blockbuster, picking up that CD case off the shelf, turning it to the back, and seeing exactly these screenshots and going, oh, that looks so cool and scary. So if you go into this thinking like modern day Bloodborne, it's not that. Go into it with your retro hats on. If you're an old man like me and Eric, like we both are, take yourself back to those days of those, you know, chunky 3D games where you have to control the camera with like the L and R buttons and, you know, use the directional pad because there's no analog control in here. When you want to equip items, you have to go into the menu, scroll down to the inventory tab, open that, scroll up to the certain area, put your stuff on, put your things in. It's not a game that I like. I don't like the Soulsborne games. I don't like any of that stuff. This probably isn't even a game that I would have played back in the day because I don't play survival horror type things either. But when I see footage of this, I get excited. When I see the derpy little like tutorial demons poking out of the floor with a little sign, and when you click on them, they go, use X to run, or whatever it is they have, and it goes, bwah, and it posts that text up really big on the lower third of the screen, it hits those nostalgia feels for me. Anytime I see this, it makes me so happy. So I'm so glad that this exists. And I was watching some gameplay of it. I went, let me watch a couple of the streamers, like the couple of streamers that I actually like playing this game. They went, what's this? What? How do you equip an item? I don't know, chat. What's going on? It's so retro and so throwback. You have to put your mind way back in those 90s days, that PlayStation 1 era.
Way back. Way back.
But if you can do that, it looks and it sounds exactly like those games. I mean, the other stuff that I really love about this is if you go into the like graphics and like performance options of this game, your FPS cap is at 20, not 120, not 240, not a million like all these normal games. It's capped at 20. And it actually will, when you get to certain areas where there's more enemies or whatever on the screen, or it would have been graphically overloaded for a regular PlayStation 1 game, the game itself will slow itself down, not because it needs to, because you're running it on a new PC, but just to emulate the feel of playing it on a PlayStation 1. There are so many graphical options of like CRT filters, playing it on an old CRT, playing it on a blown out CRT. There's filters for like, if you had recorded on a VHS, oh, now the VHS is old. Now you recorded on SP instead of EP or whatever. And there's like that VHS grain across it. It looks so good. It makes me so happy. Like one of those streamers, I said he was going through every one of those options. He went, I can't even make it out. I can't hardly even see anything. And I'm like, this is what we had to deal with back in the day. When you played it on your old ass TV that, you know, your mom got from your grandma, when she upgraded to a giant CRT, and you have that crappy one, and you plugged it in with the little cables, and your console was not doing so hot, that's what it looked like. It makes me so happy. The existence of this thing, all those graphical options, the built-in slowdown and loading times that, I mean, you can turn them off if you want to, but if you're going to mimic that style. They did it. That person, that dev did it right here. It's free to download. Why? You got to at least watch it. You got to at least watch somebody go through those options, see these things, and just get that nostalgia hit, just like I did. because it's fantastic. Bloodborne Psx. You've made me so happy. I never thought a Souls or a Bloodborne game would ever do that for me. They did it right here with this one.
In fact, they did that. And also, to speak of happiness, to speak of great things, Matt, are there any keys? Are there any other things in this world that might make us happy? I don't know.
I'm sure there are, but I didn't write them down. I was so blown away by this thing. I got time for keys.
The keys are gone. They're gone, folks.
The keys are in that game. You get a key, and then you got to scroll over on your key ring and equip it in your quick item slot. That's how you do it. That's the key I'm interested in this week. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. Or maybe PlayStation stole the keys so they get in their locked up vaults and pull out all that money they needed, Matt, to buy Bungie. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's how this went down. There's no keys because they took them.
Maybe so.
And they said, oh, we got to get in the vault. Because, folks, we won't go long on it, but I did want to bring it up because we talked about, of course, Microsoft's acquisition the other week. Bungie has just been purchased by PlayStation. And, of course, everybody immediately was like, oh, they're reacting. And it's like, no, this takes forever to make a deal like this. This is not them reacting. And then, of course, people speculate on what it means. Will Destiny going forward be for just PlayStation? Will Bungie's games only be for PlayStation? So we can skip all that because the clarification came. Destiny, no, will stay multi-platform. Nothing's going to change. In fact, Sony gave them the rights to publish their own stuff and keep putting on any platform they wish to put their stuff out on. And then that was the clarification. And so everyone's going with that. Well, what's that really mean though? And then there was even more clarification. And that was, hey, look, here's why we bought Bungie. We bought Bungie because they're one of the only development teams with a successful online service game that has gone on for 8 years. We're almost at the 10-year marker with it now or something like that. It's crazy. And they said that we wanted to buy them for the reason that they can provide us with all that knowledge and all that understanding of how an online game works because we want to release 6 of those types of games within the next few years. So having their expertise and keeping the teams that are doing those games up to speed so we don't make all the same crappy, stupid mistakes that all these online service games always end up making, even though they've seen games do it successfully, which always boggles my mind. Regardless, PlayStation's trying to avoid all that. So they said, hey, look, let's just get you on the team. You keep doing whatever you want. We give you lots of money to make your games even better and put them wherever you want. And then they said also it's a wish for us to go multi-platform. So this is one of those reasons why we also did it. Was because now you will be able to play your Destiny over on Xbox. You'll play it on the PC, but you'll get that nice PlayStation logo. PlayStation's still going to get money from it. It's a win-win for them. And then lastly, Matt, they're like, also, do you remember we're like trying to make shows and movies and do stuff? We think Bungie's Destiny has the possibility to be an amazing something. So guess what? You're going to be seeing Destiny shows, cartoons, movies, who knows? But you're going to be seeing it because that's what PlayStation is interested in. And so they ate up Bungie, got them on board, which is cool for me because now Bungie immediately after this was like, hey, we're hiring hundreds and hundreds of new people. Come on, come work for Bungie and make Destiny even better, even greater. And then, of course, these IPs that they haven't announced. Because remember, a couple years ago, they got that big old boon from, was it Tencent or somebody to start making a game? And so who knows what the hell that's even all about yet. Plus, of course, this money from PlayStation to do some more original IPs. It's insane, Matt. It's really cool, but I wanted to bring it up because it's different. Like Microsoft keeps buying all these studios to actually, you're our studio. Your games now are Microsoft's games, and now what you make is going to be a part of us. Whereas PlayStation just bought Bungie and went, no, we still want them to be a part of everything. We're utilizing their skill sets to further our own agenda with our other properties and titles, etc. So it's kind of cool just to see the different maneuvers going on, in my opinion.
Now, you want to talk about this because this is 2 weeks in a row. You got an Eric-specific topic. You got to talk about Horizon last week. Snore, boo, crap game. Now, something I could say the words Destiny 2 again? Oh, boy, I can't wait to go on a big rant about Destiny and blah, 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 blah. But, it is cool as long as, this is the kind of stuff we always talk about when Gearbox got bought by Embracer Group. Maybe this company can dip their toes in those waters. That's officially the stance here. Mm-hmm. We bought them for their expertise. They can show these people how they do this, and they can share their knowledge, and we can all be in this one happy little pot. The thing that I wouldn't say worries me or makes me go, even is, we all know Bungie gets bought out by people like all the time, and then they just like immediately turn around and leave. Like they did it with Microsoft. Well,
that's the difference.
They did it
it was always a publishing deal before. So they're like, we're buying the publishing rights to your titles for this amount of time. PlayStation actually just literally bought them now. So this time, Bungie can't leave unless PlayStation goes, oh, sure, for this amount of money, we'll release you and you can become independent. I mean,
but they're a money farm already. They got all this money from everybody who plays Destiny 2 anyway. I'm not saying it would happen. I'm just saying it feels weird, like the big press release that the FAQ that they put out saying, hey, we're still all self-published. We're going to do whatever the hell we want. They just own us now. It makes it feel more right, I guess, but it just feels strange for a company that's notorious for wanting to break out and do their own thing all the time to now get bought. Mm-hmm. It just feels weird in my head brain. That's all. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm not saying anything bad's going to happen. I hope everything goes great, just like I do with every merger and acquisition that there is. It just feels strange for this one, because this is the notorious, we are independent and we do our own thing. And yes, what they're saying right now is they can totally do their own thing still. It just feels really strange. It feels weird to me. But hey.
The reason I feel happier about it, though, Matt,
is because it gets your Destiny, man. No. The people.
It's only because they've been screwed over twice. We want to get out of making the Halo games. There was a big hubbub about it. Boom, they had to go away from Microsoft. And then they went to Activision. And they're like, hey, you're going to support us, right? Yeah, we'll support you. And then later on down the road, they're like, you're trying to force us to do shit we don't want to do. We want out of this deal. You'd think they'd learn not to do it again unless they're sure this time's the right time and this time's going to be different. Now, that sounds like a bad girlfriend with a lot of abusive boyfriends. So, never mind, Matt. Maybe this all turned out poorly. I don't know.
And you have to say screwed over from whoever's perspective, too.
Yeah.
That's all I was going to say about that. That's why I had my little quote fingers up. But then, yes, you made the point quite expertly. This time's going to be different. And then in 5 years, we'll have a conversation of, they just left Sony, and Sony said they left all their projects hanging in the wind. Oh, man, boo-hoo. But we'll see what happens. I mean, all their stuff said, hey, all of our stuff's still going to be multi-platform no matter what. So it doesn't really matter, really.
And the last big kicker from this, which is diverging from it, Matt, was that they were like, hey, this isn't the end. We're acquiring more studios. So we're going to see more studios. And then Jeff Keighley on Twitter was like, hey, this year's going to be interesting, folks. You're going to see some stuff. So right around the corner, we're getting more studios eaten up by PlayStation and probably presumably Microsoft. For sure PlayStation, because they literally said they are getting more. And then, of course, everybody went crazy going, who's it going to be? Take your biggest guess. Konami, Capcom, Sega, da-da-da-da-da, so From Software.
They can take that one. They can have that one. I don't care. They can have that one all day long.
Why would you be mad about PlayStation getting anything? Aren't you a PlayStation guy? Or are you switched? Are you on the opposite team now? Are you an Xbox kind of guru now?
We had this discussion like 2 weeks ago, Eric. When it comes down to corporations just have to get bigger and bigger and bigger and buy everything up. I don't like that. But you know what? They can eat up From Software, because I'll never play one of those games ever again. Ever in my whole life. They can have that one.
And I'll just state the obvious one that everybody's talking about is Konami. Somebody's got to get them eaten up so we can get Silent Hills out there again, Metal Gear's out there again, things like that. I know that's the typical answer. Trust me, I listen to a million shows, but it's just the right one, because they're not doing anything with the IPs anyway. But of course, then the trouble comes in. They do all sorts of health and fitness stuff. They do all sorts of pachinko machines, gambling stuff. So how do you let Konami keep doing all that on top of getting the titles? Do you just purchase the titles? Blah, 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 blah. It's a whole issue. But that's the easy one, and that's the one I don't care if it's easy. I want to believe in as well, because that's not hurting anybody. That's just helping everybody by getting those awesome IPs back out into the wild again.
I still would feel weird about that one, but the thing that I want the most, regardless of if it's because the license was sold or because they bought the company, I want more games in those series created by passionate people who care about those series. I know I've said that on this podcast a million times. Mm-hmm. That's the important thing. how it comes, whether Konami themselves do it, outsource it to other people, whatever, get bought out by Sony, I don't care. I want more Metal Gears by people who are passionate about Metal Gear. I want to see more Silent Hills from people who are passionate about that kind of stuff. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see big fish got to eat the other big fish. Now we only have 2 big fish swimming here and 1 little Nintendo fish just swimming around. I don't like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Nintendo fish will always be its own fish. We ain't got to worry about it. And I will say this.
You say that now. In 5 years, when Microsoft buys Nintendo, I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to punch you in the face.
That's fine. I don't care. I had a dream that Sega's going to get purchased by Microsoft. So expect it, folks. Sega's going to Microsoft, which also means Atlas is going to Microsoft. So the world's going to change, and I don't know if that means Microsoft's going to play cool, or if they won't. But that's going to change a lot if that happens. So just saying.
You know what I dreamt about? I dreamt about being at work, and then like one night I fell asleep, and I dreamt that I slept really badly, and I woke up and I went, "Oh, but I slept great." So there's the kind of dreams that I have.
Yeah, I don't have those kinds of dreams. I have wild, crazy dreams. But I just wanted to bring that up. I thought we had to at least broach the subject, whatever you want to call, and get it done. So there. I know it's not your favorite thing, but we had to do it.
Sega's actually put stuff out on Microsoft consoles before, so that one would kind of make sense. Like even back in the days when nobody did, they still did. But whatever. I'm sick of this conversation, Eric. Tell us about something really cool that we're both very excited about, like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Let's get into that, because that's the thing that I'm very happy about.
Are you? Are you happy? Because I don't hear you talking nothing about it. What are you talking about? What's going on, Matt? What's going on in this Tiny Tina's Wonderlands? I know one thing. They revealed the last 2 freaking classes, which is the Graveborn and the Spore Warden.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, these are looking good. I was immediately attracted to that Grave Warden. But then, I mean, not Grave Warden. I keep calling him the Grave Warden. I keep mixing the two. Don't ask
Grave
me
Warden
why.
and Sporeborn.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can mix the two when you finally get it, Eric.
And you can. Maybe I'm just creating my alternate title for when I actually mix them up and become this hybrid class. But the Graveborn was looking really sweet, but I just hate any abilities of lifesteal. I hate it when you got to take your own life to get damage, but then, of course, leech life off them to get your health back. I don't like that mechanic. I just don't like it. I've never liked it.
I was going to say, I love lifesteal, but I don't like giving life to get lifesteal. I saw the character and I went, oh, yeah, cool. And something that came later, the little floating like mini demi-lich or whatever it was they called it. I went, hell yeah, that's awesome. But when that first thing came up and they went, yeah, sacrifice your own life to do big attacks. And I went, no, hard no, absolutely not. I mean, there's even characters in League of Legends where that's their only ability. I never play those characters. I hate that. I don't ever do that. That's not for me. But what is for me is that Spore Warden, because not only, well, I mean, the frost arrows are pretty cool, but then you can shoot out 3 cold tornadoes and then you get a pet. And I went, yeah. And then I thought, wait, but the Graveborn has a pet. Wait, but the Clawbringer has a pet. How am I going to choose which pet class I want to do? Later in that trailer, they told me, hey, if you multi-class, you can have multiple pets. You can have dual pets. I can have a dragon and a little spore dude, or I can have a lich and a dragon, or a lich and a spore dude, or whatever. That made me so happy, seeing the dude run with 2 pets behind him. Now I have my choice of 3 classes so far. I can't wait.
And that's precisely what I was going to say, was that with that being said, that being known, I mean, you will for sure have to have a combination of those together, so that way we have 4 pets with us.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere we go, no matter what we do. So that way, the more drinks we have, the pets just have to pick up their pace. The pets just have to make up the difference a little bit. That's all. And with 4 pets, you know it's possible. You know they can handle most situations. So we'll be able to just have more beers and laugh while we do absolutely nothing and are useless for the most part.
Absolutely. Every boss fight, we're going to go hide behind a rock, just like we used to. Oh, go, Mr. Shroom. Go, Mr. Dragon. And then we'll just, do you hear what happened at work today? Oh, my God. Blah, 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 blah. I love it. But I am very excited for these classes. I mean, all of them. But what do I say every time we talk about Wonderlands, especially when we talk about the classes? Now I have to see the skill trees. I have to see them. because that is what will, I mean, obviously what will decide it for me, but that's when I'm going to see where I really do get hyped at. Because I went back and I watched the class trailers for the Berserker and the Stabomancer too. And I went, man, but there's no pets here. I guarantee if they put some really cool stuff in those skill trees, which I know they will because it's Gearbox and they always do really cool stuff, maybe I'm going to start leaning those ways. I mean, as much as double pets is cool, if I look at the skill trees of all three of those and only one of them appeals to me, I'm definitely going to go to whatever one is the coolest. I just got to see what those are now. Hopefully sometime this month, especially with all the IGN coverage that's coming and has been here, hopefully that'll start coming down the pipe too. We're only like a month and a half away from it now, so.
Now, I know we were just joking too, of course, about having 2 pets each, but immediately after seeing this, and then like you said, I also went and rewatched the others, I was like, Spore Warden and the Spell Shot just seems so awesome to me. You know, fire and ice, the whole mage thing. I can just be a mage. I can do this. I know they said you'll never be able to just be a mage. Guns are still going to be a big primary way of dealing damage, but I was like, man, I think this will be as close as I can get to it. But just casting out those dual spells all the time, you know, and of course they're on rotations, and from what it looks like, they replaced the grenades, so it's you're just using the spells on the cooldowns, etc., instead of, you know, throwing grenades out and whatnot, which I love and I appreciate.
I was thinking of it too. Man, if that Spore Warden can buff up his little spore dude to be like Mr. Beef, then I could actually go a little bit Stabomancer, and while Mr. Beef is wreaking havoc, stealth around, backstab some people, or just throw out that giant spinny blade on them, and then also either, I don't know if you're going to have to swap them back and forth or whatever, but have those 3 cryo tornadoes and that giant spinny blade, which we've seen them throw out 3 in a row of those. I'm just AoE Jones. I'm sending in my little spore dude. Everyone's clumping up around him, and I'm going, and then and just murdering everything.
Yeah, and what on top of all that, I'm wondering, because, you know, they've had to learn a lot from their previous titles, like Battleborn, Pendles. They've got invisibility in this game, and I'm like, are they going to make that actually really something? To where, like you said, you get the AoE going, you get the, you know, your pet getting all the attention, you go sneak around, get within certain range, whatever it is, with a shotgun or your melee weapon, and boom, you're just doing like explosive, huge hits while you're invisible and unnoticed or whatever. That could lead to all sorts of really just fun gameplay that's different from the, hey, let's just, you know, shoot 1 billion rounds until the enemy's dead. That'd let you play like we used to play with Pendles, Inari, etc. back in the old days.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't wait to see more of this. IGN just had a hands-on preview which showed more like in-game action. Watching that made me hungry to play this game. Seeing, I mean, obviously they were running it on like a high-power PC or whatever, but those graphics looked awesome. That gameplay looked smooth. Those guns looked really cool. The abilities looked like a ton of fun. When he was jumping across with the, I think that's the Berserker's big hammer smash.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like so much fun. It looked so fluid and so fast and so, I mean, it always is because Borderlands is that too, but it just looked like a ton of fun. And all the bright colors and the crazy things going on in the background, it made me so much more hyped for this game.
Well, and then how they incorporate that melee in, where like if you lock into your melee, it slides you right in and you get that first hit in. That just looks awesome. And it feels good too, because as it's been mentioned on like the IGN coverage, it's more than what Melee has ever been in Borderlands. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we've talked about it before. Is it actually going to be playable, just Melee only, or spells only? And, of course, from Borderlands developers themselves, that's not going to be the case. You still are going to have to kind of mix and match it all together. But the gameplay shown looks like you will actually be able to use Melee to kill baddies, to handle business, to get into a scenario and take control of it. And I'm stoked for that, because that sounds like a lot of fun. Any way you can change the gameplay up just a little bit to where it's not just shoot and win because you've got the conference call with the, you know, max stats or whatever the case may be, is really cool for me. And just seeing the spell shots comet, you know, the meteor come down and just boom. I'm like, oh man, I want to be doing that all the time. Just meteors all over the place, having a great old time.
Well, the best part about the Melee stuff was they were talking about how the Melee weapons that drop will have stats and rolls on them and things that, man, maybe every kill you get or, consecutive hits with this melee weapon refreshes your spell cooldown by X number of whatever, or, adds vulnerability to them. So when you go back to your shotgun, you're really blowing them away. I can't wait to see that. Modifiers for melee weapons that you can have attached to your character. That's another thing to pull the strings and make my build. When I get this with, all my frost damage over here, and you get elemental damage modifier on your melee weapon too, run up, smack them with this, then hit them with the frost. Now they're twice as vulnerable or whatever. That's awesome. That's awesome. I can't wait.
Tons of possibilities for it. Oh, tons of possibilities. And then, of course, we've seen it a little bit before, but in the IGN's big gameplay review thing they put up a couple days ago, which, by the way, go check that out if you haven't. It's pretty cool, pretty fun. You get to see a little bit more, especially the environment change. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's very cool for how short it is, too. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of info packed in there and a lot of new gameplay that we saw. Like, I saw it, and it was like 5 minutes, and I went, I wanted 20. But then when I watched it, I was so hyped that 5 minutes, it paid its dues here. It made me that much more excited.
Yeah, same for me. All that I saw just made me way more hyped for this game. And on top of it, like I was saying, the transition of Tiny Tina going, oh, you've come upon this castle in this city. However, unfortunately, it's actually been battle and rage, skeleton armies march, and right in front of your face, the environment changed, and the castle, the whole city was on fire. It was dark out. Skeletons were marching in these giant formations towards it and stuff. And I was like, yes, that is what I thought was the coolest thing from the old school DLC, was when she would talk and the environment would just warp around you and change right in front of you to whatever it is she was going on about. And I'm like, yes, I hope that is a theme throughout this entire Wonderlands. Just always on your toes, always wondering what kind of craziness Tiny Tina's going to toss in next and do to you on just a minute-by-minute basis.
And I mean, like we've talked about before with the overworld, if you're going to have encounters on that overworld, I mean, obviously maybe they would only have like 2 or 3 different variations, but if you go in there and, you've cleared out the little ogre ambush or whatever, oh, Tina, we've already done this one. Oh, yeah? Well, maybe now they have flaming arrows, or maybe it's not ogres, it's a Skellyman army. The possibilities for her to change things up are phenomenal. I want to see lots of variations of things. I would love to see bunches of DLCs for this game, too. I don't think they've announced anything like that, but the places you could go with just that theme of her changing stuff up on the fly would be incredible.
Now, on the DLC thing, I think they did announce DLCs already for it.
Okay.
I'll have to confirm.
So now we've checked. I am right to be hyped because the Chaotic Great Edition of the game does come with a Season Pass, which I will assume is the traditional Borderlands Season Pass of DLCs 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whether there are characters or classes or whatever in there, that gives me hope for story stuff and going off the rails nuts, going off the table. Maybe your board falls off the table like we said before. Now you're in free fall in a weird moon jump crazy land. Who knows?
The possibilities for that are just ridiculous. Even if it's not just fall off the table, but she just smacks down like a bonus board, like you do oftentimes in D&D, and all of a sudden you've got this standalone adventure, this little dungeon, whatever the case may be, and it can be completely different because obviously in D&D you can make up any story you want, stepping through some kind of teleportation thing, and all of a sudden you're in this alternate dimension where you're fighting fluffy bunnies and whatnot, just like Diablo does with its secret cow level and whatnot. Oh gosh, golly. Woo! It could be so good, and it's getting closer and closer, and I'm getting more pumped for it. It's kind of felt like it was forever away, but it's finally starting to feel like it's something we're going to actually play and have a good time with.
It is kind of funny because I saw when I watched that stuff, and it went, hey, it's coming out March 25th. And my brain still went, that's still forever away. But my heart went, that's just right around the corner, dude. Yeah, we're going to be playing that in no time and drinking beers and having a fun time. But what about you out there in podcast listener land? You've heard how hyped we are for this game. Are you just as hyped? And if you're not, go watch that IGN coverage. Go read up the article that we didn't even have time to get to. This time, we'll talk about it next time. That's all about the bar and the cool stuff that's happening in there. And then get hyped with us and tell us how hyped you are via the email thirdshiftme@gmail.com, on the Twitter machine @thirdshiftme, and find us on Facebook under Third Shift.
You can find us over on Facebook, but you can also find us on Patreon. Like what we're doing, like what you see, want to help support us, consider throwing a little $1, $2, $3, $100, any kind of bucks in that old tip jar. Appreciate it. Keeps the lights on, keeps us paying bills, keeps us all happy as little lambs on the open sea. I don't know if lambs are actually happy on the open sea, but I'm going to imagine that they are. I'm going to imagine they are indeed. I tell the dolphins, not the dolphins, stupid. Get those little orca bastards. They'll come in and eat those poor little lambs. Ah, man, that could be a bad day. But enough of that.
Wait, I got to cut in here because now twice you have made animal type references that make me have a beautiful picture in my head. One, lambs on the open sea. I'm picturing like pirate lambs running their own ship. Fire the cannons. And then earlier, when you said parkour once, you said porkor. And then I thought of a parkour pig just running and jumping and sliding. Hell yeah.
Doing what he has to do. You know what I mean? What can I say? You know, once I given up games and started doing anime, now things just go through my brain. It's just wild. It's a whole different life I'm living these days. Whew. But if you want to get me back on track, maybe if I saw that $1 million in the old Patreon, Matt, I'd instantly be back on track, and I'd instantly go, oh, yeah, I like video games. That's what I used to do. It's the whole reason we do this show. Oh, my gosh.
But we won't have time to do that because we're running the goddamn food line.
Running the food line. Man, with all those awesome cameras, and we'd have the giant goldfish thing or the lion, or I don't even remember anymore. I know we had babies in jars, for God's sakes. I know we had that. The ideas. It was wild. It was crazy. But no one's giving us that $1 million, so, you know, maybe it's going to fade away someday, and all I'll remember is some kind of anime thing. Maybe we're going to have anime girls there. I don't remember.
I mean, I'm down with that. I'm not going to complain about that.
I'm not going to complain either. But anywho's, we appreciate all of you having a past and or future that have thrown a buck or two our way. It keeps us safe and cozy, and we love it, and we thank you so very much. But if you can't support us with the money, I've told you, I went over to Spotify, and I got a 5-star rating for the old podcast. That's what I did. I went in there and I gave us a whole 5-star rating, and I went over to iTunes and I said, I'm going to do this. And it said, you got to log in. And I said, I don't have an iTunes login because I don't use Apple. And then I went, that's too far. This is too far. I got to log in. I got to create an account. I said, maybe next week. But for this week, I at least did the Spotify, and you can too. It's not that hard. Get on your phones and do it. Help us out. It helps so very much. I've told you this. Or mailbag questions, or comments, or questions of any kind, or feedback on the old Twitters. Get out there, folks. Come on. I want to hear you talk about whatever the hell it is you want us to know.
Absolutely. And I want you all to listen to the very next episode, which will be dropping on the 10th of February, which you can find on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Podbean, on Spotify, and on YouTube. And as I always say, hey, if you like what we're doing, you'd like to help us out, please give us a like, a rating, a view, a comment, a subscription, any kind of good thing on any one of those good services, because it does help us out, and we really do appreciate it.
Indeed we do, just like we appreciate those 5-star reviews I was just mentioning to you before. Please give us a 5-star, 5-star rating.
And with that, there's nothing else to say, but...
Don't forget.
Shut up and sit down.